Lee, since the bullshit you guys call YouTube nowadays, muting my audio from the last top 20 rock groups vid, I decided to do it again. I don't even know what's going on with YouTube these days. Like every single time somebody posts something about music, if they hear the slightest artist, they always have to block your audio, throw that bullshit copyright claim, man. But anyway, I'm not really that mad to do it again, to be honest, because I do this shit for music and I do this shit for you guys. So here it is again, the top 20 rock groups. But I did make a slight change in one of the rock groups, but since hardly no one ever got to see it, thanks a lot YouTube. Here it is. Number 20 is The Clash. Yes, I'm a huge Clash fan, you know what I'm saying? Like, that is like probably really like the first like punk rock group to really like, that's like the first punk rock group in my opinion, not to like do that whole crazy ass stuff, that whole I hate the government shit like that. Although they did have their political kind of shit, they mostly like combine like reggae and like new wave and had like a little bit of soul inside of them. Like I'm a huge Clash fan. Like Joe Strummer is a fucking genius. Like my favorite album from them, it used to be like London Calling. I still love the album to this day, but like I'm more of like a fan of Sandista. Like that during they dropped back in 1980. That one was fucking sick right there. Other than that, The Clash number 20. Rest in peace to Joe Strummer. My number 19 pick, I know this is like a lot of people's number one, and I do love this group. The frontman is definitely one of the best ever, but like I don't know. I mean, I do love this group band so much, but I kind of feel like I do get kind of overhyped at times, and that is Queen, number 19. Queen is by far like one of the most artistically greatest groups of all time, Freddie Mercury is by far like the greatest frontman ever. I love they like have like added like dimensions to like hard rock, They didn't have to be like all dark and shit like that. Like sometimes they just went like kind of progressive with it, you know what I'm saying? Like they have classic shit like Bohemian Rhapsody is arguably next to Stairway to Heaven and Comfortably Numb, like the greatest rock songs ever. What else? Like favorite album from them, Night at the Opera, News of the World, Jazz. That album right there is fucking another dope ass album. Jazz is a dope ass album right there. Rest in peace to Freddie Mercury, Oh, I forgot to mention, their Live Aid performance, hands down the greatest rock performance ever. Why they're not really that high? I was not really raised a lot by Queen. I mean, I listen to practically almost all the album, but it's not like really a group I was like raised on as much as others here. But that does not mean I don't like them, you know what I'm saying? Number 18, 9 Inch Nails. Hands motherfucking down, like one of my favorite groups ever. Like, oh damn, like damn. Trent Reznor, arguably like one of the greatest frontmen ever. The fact that he made like 9 Inch Nails, like he basically is 9 Inch Nails if you really think about it. Like they have like each album they've done, like it's from like Downward Spiral, Pretty Hate Machine, The Fragile. Like they all sound like different. Like that's what I love rock bands who do shit like that. Cause I hate it when a rock band, they always try to remake an album. They always try to like remake an album like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll be like, oh, this is like has that this and that sound, but Nine Inch Nails, they never really done shit like that. And of course, like my favorite album from them is arguably the Downward Spiral, which is like a rock landmark in the 90s, like that. Number 17, Steely Dan. Steely Dan, what can you say about those guys? They are by far like they were like very very distinct with their sound in the 70s. Like they combined jazz, progressive rock, classic R&B. Very very dope group right there. And like one thing I love about them, their songwriting. Like Walter and Donald, they always like do their thing when it comes to like putting the lyrics together and then putting the arrangements together. You know what I'm saying? Favorite album from them has got to be Asia and the Royal Scam. Like those two albums are very very dope albums. Although I do kind of like Asia more. So yeah, Steely Dan. And check out the Gotcha album, the one that dropped in 1980. That's actually a pretty good album. But it got pretty slept on. Number 16. Now I don't really listen to like a lot of rock music around the 2000s, cause I kind of feel like it was mostly pop orientated. Like I don't listen to shit like Nickelback, like Daltrey, The Fray. I don't listen to that fucking shit. But like, this is like one of the few exceptions on the list, and that is the White Stripes. Oh my god, what can you say about the White Stripes? They have like that 1960s garage band kind of aura inside of them. And that's what I do love about the White Stripes. They were like very, very bluesy, punk rock mixed in together. My favorite albums like White Blood Cells, like it's a masterpiece right there. But it's a shame though, like, cause most people know them for that song Seven Nation Army. Like you guys heard that. Dun, 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 dun. That's what most people know them for, But they've released plenty of other doper songs than that. But other than that, they're broken up now, I think Jack and Meg, I think they got like divorced or some shit. I definitely gotta get some of their albums though. Number 16, the White Stripes. Hold on. My next pick, this is gonna surprise a lot of my subscribers, but here it is. Number 15 is the Mothers of Invention. Every time I do a rock list, I gotta have at least some Frank Zappa up in it, who was like one of like the best frontman, composers, guitarists. He's like one of the best right there. And and like they did like a lot of good albums, like to be honest, they were like originally like an R&B band too, and like Mothers of Invention, they were like kind of like the answer to the hippie culture. Like, if you don't believe me, check out the album We're Only In It For The Money, which is like by far one of like my favorite albums from like probably like in my top 10 like Frank Zappa albums, because Zappa has done like a lot of shit, Rest in peace of Frank Zappa. But like that album is like kind of like a satire of like the hippie culture. Other than that, Mothers of Invention, very very dope rock group right there. They were definitely ahead of their time. All right, my next pick is number 14, Heart. Yeah. Number 14 is Heart. And Nancy Wilson. I don't really like to compare artists, but I call them like the female Led Zeppelin, because like they kind of like had like that bluesy rock sound mixing with like kind of like the folk. They did like kind of like folk sound, but I like the chemistry together. Like they complement each other so well, and like they're like one of those rock groups where, although it's like a female rock group, they don't like brag about being females, And I hate it when certain females do that, like, they might make a big deal out of saying, oh, I'm a female rocker and shit like that. Okay, you're a female rocker, but can you actually make music? You know what I'm saying? Other than that, favorite album from that, I gotta say is like, what's that one album on? Dreamboat Willie, some shit like that, yeah. And that album was very dope. And they actually, I need to check out some of their 80s albums too, because they actually put out some pretty good songs in the 80s. Other than that, Heart, number 14. Number 13, I'm gonna go with the Stooges. The Stooges right there. Hell yes. Iggy Pop and the Stooges. They arguably like the godfathers of punk right there. Like, I love this song. It has like a very like dirty basement garage sound to them. And like Iggy Pop, he did not give no fucks at all. He was like, this is the dude that like cut himself on stage, you know, walking on people's hands, and you really never seen a rocker like that. You really never seen somebody who did stuff like that. And although I like their first 3 albums, cause you know, like the first 3 albums, the Stooges, Raw Power, and the Stooges, Funhouse, and Raw Power. Funhouse is by far my favorite one because I like the jazzy. They kind of like went jazzy with it, you know, like dun dun dun. Then obviously the saxophone comes like, brrr. Yeah. It's like Iggy Pop and the Stooges. Number 12. I know this is gonna be like a lot of people's in the top 10, but I gotta go with Nirvana. Kurt Cobain, no, David Grohl, Chris Novoselic. Nirvana basically, it was representing like a change. Those guys represent like a change, like in like rock, you know what I'm saying? Like they kind of brought back like that punk kind of edge to them. And one thing I love about Nirvana is the fact that like I love Nirvana because like they really like, they were not following trends, nothing like that. They just did their own thing. Like Kurt Cobain, he's a very, very dope frontman, a songwriter. But I'm not really a fan of like his guitar playing like that. I kind of feel like his guitar playing kind of gets overrated. Cause I'm more of a fan like David Grohl, and I do like Dave Grohl is like, I like him better on Nirvana than on Foo Fighters. Cause I've never really been like a huge Foo Fighters fan like that. Other than that, Nirvana, number 12. Favorite album is In Utero. That's my favorite album from them. I do love Nevermind though. I did a review on that. And what else? I love the MTV Unplugged album. Like, that was kind of like Cobain's swan song right there. And my number 11 pick, the original Alice Cooper band. This is like by far one of, like Alice Cooper in general is like definitely my top 8 frontmen of all time. He is by far a very, very influential dude, like crazy as hell. Like I like Alice Cooper like in the late 60s and like the 70s, like early to mid 70s. Cause like that was like when he was at his prime though. And he, if you don't believe me, check out his band like Killer. Like I was like Killer, Billion Dollar Babies, you know. They had like that dark, eerie kind of sound to them. Alright. Alice Cooper band. The original Alice Cooper band. Alright, now this is the top 10 right here. And just to let you know, my number 1 pick is going to surprise a lot of viewers, but I don't really care. So, number 10 is, I'm going to go with Fleetwood Mac. But it's only like when Stevie Nicks came, because I really never really heard anything from Fleetwood Mac. I never really heard anything from Fleetwood Mac before like 1975-ish. Yeah, 1975. Because like it's like this it's not that I don't like them, it's the fact that like I don't like the era. It's like I never really sat down and listened to like an album from them prior to that. You know what I'm saying? I might listen to one couple albums, and I might talk about it in future videos. But anyway, Fleetwood Mac, it's like melodic pop rock. That was like when pop rock was actually really, really, really good, you know. And Fleetwood Mac, they've done it the best. Like Stevie Nicks, she has got to be like probably like one of my favorite rock vocalists of all time. And whew, that girl can hold a note. And favorite albums from them are his first, the self-titled one, 1975, Rumors, gotta have Rumors on there, and Tusk. Fleetwood, like, they were like really dope as hell. Like, I love Fleetwood Mac to death. Number 9, Van Halen, but only David Lee Roth era Van Halen. I don't like Sammy Hagar, and I definitely don't like that Gary Chrome, whatever his name is, that was only with them for like one album. Van Halen represented like everything like I loved about like classic rock back in the 70s. They were wild, they were like crazy, and of course they had like a very, very dope frontman who is David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth, you know, a lot of people kind of call him the greatest rock frontman of all time, and I do have to kind of like agree with what people will say, or when people do call him that, you know. And one thing I love about David Lee Roth is the fact like he will do anything on stage. Like I've seen like vintage clips of him like doing his own dancing, like this awkward dances and shit like that. And their album's favorite album is like their first album, which is by far a landmark in like the late 70s. And Eddie Van Halen, he stole the show, like, that's in the David Lee Roth era, he like stole the show, like, his guitar work, whew, my God. Don't believe me? Check out Eruption off the first album. That has gotta be one of my favorite guitar solos ever, you know. And I do like the albums like Woman and Children First, Fair Warning, and of course 1984. Like those are like my favorite ones right there, you know. Other than that, I like a few songs Sammy Hagar did. I do like a few songs he did, but I kind of felt that they kind of went a little commercial. Although it was evident like with the like 1984 album, but like once Sammy Hagar went, I kind of felt like their style kind of changed a little bit. Number 8 is the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Now let me clear something up with you guys. There's a lot of people that be like, oh well, Jimi Hendrix basically is a solo artist, but if it's a band, that's my phone. If it's like a band and I acknowledge everybody in that band, so that means I acknowledge like Jimi Hendrix, and I acknowledge Noel, and I acknowledge the other dude. So, but this was like the beginning of heavy metal right here. You know, Jimi Hendrix, you know, of course, rest in peace to all of them. And one thing I like about that group, that band, is like this, all this stuff's like combined together, like to create a psychedelic energy. Favorite albums from them gotta be Electric Ladyland. I know all three of them are very dope in my opinion. Jimi Hendrix Experience definitely left a mark in like classic rock. Excuse me. Okay, next group, Pink Floyd. Number 7 is Pink Floyd. I know that this is gonna be like a lot of people's top 5, but this is another group I kind of feel kind of gets high. I do love Pink Floyd to death, but I do kind of get like a little bit overhyped because of Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall. And I do love those albums to death, but like I kind of feel like people only know them for like those 2 releases. Like I have never heard no Pink Floyd fan say that they like what's that one? The first one they did was Sid Barrett, which is the Pipers of Gates Dawn, and that was a very dope album right there, like a very trippy album. I never heard no fans say that they liked that album because like if you would think, but they were kind of like underground, because like Dark Side of the Moon, but they were like they had the bottom like a lot of chart success. Yeah, like a lot of chart success and shit like that. But although I do love Dark Side of the Moon, Animals is definitely my shit right there, because that album was, I like that the point they were trying to make with that album, and it was only my gripe with that album. I wish it was like a little bit longer though, cause it was like I think about 4 or 5 songs in that album. And you know, Pink Floyd, you know, I haven't really been after The Wall. I kind of did lose a little bit interest in them, but they did drop a new album last year. I haven't yet to hear it. Cause like a lot of people said it was pretty good, but I'll check it out one day. You know. Number 7, Pink Floyd. Number 6 is The Who. Yes, The Who. That is like one of my favorite rock groups ever. You know, they kind of like created like the punk rock kind of sound to them. Like Pete Townsend, he's arguably the first punk rocker. Like check out their performance, My Generation, on this thing called the Beat Club, and this dude was like doing all these like weird things. You know what I'm saying? And favorite albums from them, I do love, like, my favorite album from the hands down is Quantiphemia. Like, that is, like, one of my hardest hitting albums of all time. I kind of think that album's kind of better than Tommy, though. And, you know, one of the most underrated members is, like, John Entwistle. He was, like, the key factor to the group, you know? Excuse me. Yeah. Alright, in other words, like, I kind of feel like he was like a key, because he was like playing horns, like especially on the Quantiphemia album, on like the track 515. Like he was very like multi-instrumentalist, I believe. And then like Keith Moon in general, the way that dude was like going all crazy behind the drums, like you never seen anyone like him though, you know. Really love The Who. Rest in peace of Keith Moon and John Entwistle. Number 5 is Black Sabbath. Definitely like they raised hell around this time. By far one of my favorite heavy metal groups. They creative heavy metal, like there's gotta be like Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Jimi Hendrix Experience. You know, they really created heavy metal and shit like that, you know. Ozzy Osbourne. I kind of like Ozzy more in Black Sabbath than in like solo work. I mean, don't get me wrong, he did he had a few good solo albums. Blizzard of Oz obviously being my favorite one. But like, he kind of went for more, he kind of softened his image up, like, in a way. Like, my favorite, I know he's growing up, but at the same time, it's like, it's not really the same. And, you know, they were like very dark and grimy, and like albums like the first album, Paranoid, Masters of Reality, Black Sabbath Volume 4, very, like those 4 albums, like every heavy metal head should have those albums. And also, Heaven and Hell is definitely a dope album too. The first album with Dio. After like Dio left again, that's when like Black Sabbath was kind of over. You know what I'm saying? Although their recent album they came up with, I think 2013, that was actually a pretty dope album too. Number 4, The Doors. The Doors, man. The Doors has gotta be one of my favorite like rock groups ever. They were like psychedelic, jazzy, like haunting, like Like they did not give a fuck. Jim Morrison is by far, he was a true revolutionary. Like, I don't give a fuck attitude. And you know, one thing I kind of feel like my favorite member, besides Jimmy, has got to be like Ray. You know, Ray. I can't even pronounce his last name, but I love the fact that he like plays the organ, and he kind of like created the sound for the Doors, like that. Cause like you notice how they don't have like a bass like in the group, because like the organ kind of makes up for it. And that's what I love about the Doors, you know. They were very different. My favorite album from them, I gotta say, it's gotta be L.A. Woman, which is like very bluesy and stuff like that. The first album kind of comes close though. So rest in peace to Jim and Ray. Number 3 is the Rolling Stones. Oh my god. Rolling Stones, man. I grew up listening to Rolling Stones. Like, they really, like, were the ones who created blues rock, you know? Because, like, when like, most rockers were, like, influenced by, like, rock and roll, they were, like, influenced by, like, Howlin' Wolf and, like, B.B. King. And, you know, Mick and Keith, man. Like, through the ups and downs, I love those two. Like, those two complement each other well. Very, very, very dope rock group. Although they did have a few bad albums, they did have a few. They did have a few Ed moments, but like when it comes to like favorite albums, it's like Aftermath, like the Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, Hell Fucking Yes, Exile on Main Street. Oh my god, and Rolling Stones Now, Tattoo You. It's like after Tattoo You, they were kind of like hit or miss though. Yeah, rest in peace, Brian Jones, and like my favorite member, like it's not even Mick or Keith. It's like when Mick Jones he joined the group during like the Beggars, I believe it was Let It Bleed. He joined the group. Like, I love that dope style in that fucking group. Like, they really, like, mastered that bluesy rock style really good. And I do actually like the Some Girls album, too. Even though it's a disco album. Other than that, the Rolling Stones definitely gotta be one of the most probably the most influential rock band ever. Number 2, you already know, it's Led Zeppelin. You guys thought that was going to be my number 1. Led Zeppelin. While the Rolling Stones, like, kind of like originated blues, kind of rock, I kind of felt like Led Zeppelin perfected it, like, in the late 60s, early 70s. Like, Robert Plant, man. He has, like, he sounds like a fucking soul singer at times, like it sounds like he'll be crying. He'll sound like he's, like, begging and shit like that. And like Jimmy Page is a very, very good producer, and he was like the key to the group. Like he was one like who was in charge of like the album art, the sound each album is supposed to be, and that's what I love about Jimmy Page. Like his guitar playing is amazing too. And favorite album from them has got to be House at the Holy. That album has got to be the most experimental album to date. And the fact that no one really talks about that album, I don't really know why no one talks about that album. Because that actually got them like a lot of chart success too. And because like I do like the Led Zeppelin 1 album, which is another dope ass record. And of course, like Led Zeppelin 2, Led Zeppelin 4 is amazing. Led Zeppelin 3, that's like my least favorite of those 4, but that doesn't mean it's still a bad album. Excuse me, damn. And like Physical Graffiti was, although I kind of feel like the album kind of gets overhyped because it suffers from the double album curse, it's still a dope ass album though. Other than that, like Led Zeppelin still gotta be. A lot of people were influenced by Led Zeppelin, you know what I'm saying? Rest in peace to John Bono. And you know, what else about them? What else about them? Like they just had that mystique inside them. Like this was a group that never really followed trends either, but like they kind of like made their own rules. And my number one pick is Cream. My number one is Cream. My favorite rock group ever. Yes, you guys were not expecting this. Like Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker, Jack Bruce, rest in peace. Very, very dope rock group right there. Like everything from the Scraggly Gears, Fresh Cream, Wheels of Fire, Goodbye. Like they never really, they like always stuck to that sound like that. Psychedelic and blues mixed together. Like they were always like by far like a very, what's the word? Experimental. Cause like no one really like thought of like combining like psychedelic, jazz, and blues all mixed in one. And like it's very, very dope. I like the way they always progressing the sound in each album they did. And once they were like at the height of the fame, they were like, you know, we just gotta break up. Although there was still drama within the group. Yeah, that's my number one right there, is Cream. And that's all the time I have, you know. Thank you guys for watching this. And, you know, stay tuned for more vids. Peace.